Let's see here. Call the meeting to order. Marcia, are you able to take the roll?
I sure am. Good afternoon. All right, roll call. Nikita Anderson. Pamela Bowers.
Present.
Berlene Dotson. Terry England.
Here.
Marcia is here. Anthony Hobson.
Here I am.
Hey. Michelle Hopkins. Jaleesa is an expected absence. Micah
Here.
is here. Ross Meyer.
Here.
Hey. Christy Phillips is absent. Laura's absent. Sally Westheimer.
Here.
6, 7. We have 7.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for being here. We got a lot of good stuff tonight. First, we have the review and approval of minutes from October. Is there anyone that has any suggested changes to the minutes from October? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move.
Is there a second? Sally. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay? Okay, hearing none. The minutes are approved from October. Next, we'll move into the first update, the master agreement update, which is Marcia and me. Marcia, I'll start, and anything you want to correct me on or jump in, feel free. I think the last update we had with the board was about a month ago, and we said the CPS board and us had agreed to a process. We had started to have some meetings. We put together a draft, which is not a red line of the current master agreement, but a new framework in which money is split up and there's more autonomy both for CPS over what it does with its funds and for CPP for what it does with its funds. It's a much simpler agreement, probably a third of the length of the original one. In the month that has happened since, there have been a couple more meetings. I'd hesitate to say like great progress, but movement maybe, and there's more on the way. So CPS, I think, has struggled to figure out a process that they want to stick to make this decision. And if you watch their most recent board meeting, you can hear their board president kind of express frustration with their board over that. What was initially agreed was the presidents and vice presidents of both boards with key staff would get together and work on a draft, and once drafts are in a pretty workable format where all is agreed to, we would schedule a joint board meeting to discuss and hopefully ratify it. The CPS board, from watching their last board meeting and from our recent communications, I think now is unwilling to stick to that as their plan. They want to have a red line response to our draft, which we have not yet received, but only after they review it in a public meeting with their full board, and then they want to have a joint board meeting with our full board to discuss it. They have proposed that next Monday their board will discuss a red line, which we have not yet seen. And that next Tuesday our full boards will meet to discuss it, which Marcia and I wanted to share with you and also share our recommendation of how we would like to handle it. I am certain that the red line that they come up with will have some things that we think are fine and good and improvements to the first draft we sent, and also likely some items that require some consideration, discussion, thought, and getting a draft one evening and trying to have a meeting the following morning of 22 people to discuss it doesn't seem like the best course of business for how to negotiate a deal like this. So, and I've expressed that to their board president, who understands that. Again, we're waiting to see their draft. I don't know when exactly we'll get it, but I do know they're discussing it on Monday and that there's a standing invitation on Tuesday. One thing that Marcia and I feel strongly about is that the CPS board may certainly decide how it is going to make its own decisions, but also that we get to decide our processes and how our board's going to operate and make our decisions. So what we would like to pass along, and I'll pass this along to the board president, so long as there's kind of general approval from our board tonight, general discussion. I don't think it's something we need to vote on, but Marcia and I feel the appropriate response is, to the extent they want to have a meeting to discuss whatever red line comes in on Monday night, on Tuesday morning, that our board has a master agreement committee, which is Terry, Marcia, me, and Sally, and that we're prepared to ask that committee to come meet with them to discuss something that we'll have seen the night before, and to educate on what the issues are. And what we would really like to do is get a commitment on a process to get it from there to the finish line, because we thought we had a commitment and that's been changed. So certainly happy to discuss substantive issues, and we found that when we have these meetings and are able to kind of educate on how we operate, it's helpful. But I'm not of the belief that 22 people meeting to negotiate a document is a recipe for success, and certainly not when you see something in the evening before at best. At the same time, I understand there's an importance from some board members at CPS to have this big joint discussion, and we're going to kind of propose that our master agreement committee is happy to come. I have asked those on our master agreement committee if they're willing to do that, and all have said yes. And that from there, we want a commitment at that meeting of the process we will use to finish this, because I expect, like I said, that some of the things they propose, I do believe it's going to be a markup of our form, moving from the framework that we proposed, which I think is, to the extent we want to say there's a bright spot, I think that's probably the bright spot so far. And I think that the understanding of the need for flexibility for both parties is something that's generally agreed upon. And I think there are, I actually think we're probably in 70 to 80% agreement of what it needs to look like. We just don't yet know what the 20 to 30% is that we still need to discuss, because we haven't seen something and they won't let us see it until they've all discussed it. So, first, Marcia, is there anything you want to add? Anything I've missed on that?
Yeah, I'll add a couple of things, and then I'd love to hear from our fellow board members in terms of what you all think. But two things. One, I'm disturbed because there is a measure of urgency that we have as an organization, because we have a commitment to our providers. And so I'm very irritated about that part of it, and the lack of sensitivity of it. And so whatever comes out of this, we can never, ever, ever be in this spot again where we have money that we can't use to take care of the people that we're supposed to shepherd. So that's one thing. Very irritated about that. The other, I'm expressing irritation, sorry, it's been a long day already. The other thing is, as board members, and I know a lot of you have experience in this whole space of child care, early ed, and all of that. Some of us don't. But, those of us that don't have worked really hard to try to understand and be a good steward of this organization as board members and to learn. And I get irritated when homework doesn't appear to have been done by the folks sitting at the table. It's like, why don't you know that? This is public information. Why do you look on them? Why are you asking that question? Why did that come out of your mouth? So it's those two things. And so I say all that to say that we got to get back to basics. This thing all started because of a need in the community to serve these children and their families. And we lose sight of that. What the heck are we doing? Now, and I'm saying we, the two organizations, I know what we're supposed to be doing, and we're going to do that to the extent we can, but I get really bothered by all of the back and forth about what people think and what people are assuming and all that without doing the research and without coming back and saying, this is what I saw and this is why I believe that way. Or I feel like, and I feel like, well, your feelings, my son-in-law has a saying, is that a fact? Y'all need to talk to us about facts, because it's taking too long about your feelings. So I have an issue with us coming together, 22 or however many people coming together, because it's gonna be all about your feelings and no facts. So we gotta have, to Michael's point, we thought we had a process. Obviously, their board had not bought into that process. Otherwise, it wouldn't be changing. That's Marcia's opinion. So it needs to be stable. It needs to have a deadline. It needs to be on track. We need to know what the gates are to say that we're getting this done. So hopefully we can get there with whatever they come back with, and we can talk from there. So I'm interested in what you guys, y'all haven't been in the room, and what do y'all think?
Happy to answer any questions,
Yeah.
and also, we want kind of a general consensus, thumbs up on thumbs down, if proceeding in the way in which we propose is something the board is okay with. Yeah, Pamela?
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Marcia, for the update and your strong passion. I am in agreement with you. It seems like we've been kicking this dirt around for too long. The agreement that they had that they're trying to talk about red line, do we have that copy?
So, we have what we sent over to them as an
Do
original.
we as a board have that?
No, we have not.
Are we allowed to see that?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay.
We can send around, we had hoped to kind of get to something a little further along to not waste everyone's time, but yes, we can.
But just
certainly
with the
send that.
discussions going on Monday,
Yes.
it would be helpful for me.
Yes.
So that I can follow along. I am in total agreement that 22 of us do not need to be at a table. This is not that kind of meeting, which we should have already been having in consensus and talking about different things. But this process, I'm going to trust that master agreement group 100% to be the representative for us. I don't think we all need to meet together in 22, and we have not been at the table and having this discussion previously. So I'm going to trust, I for one, want to trust you guys' decision on that.
Appreciate that. Sal, use the microphone.
Yeah. I have a number of thoughts, but I want to start with this in a question to Pamela, Vera maybe, Marcia, who's been hanging around the Cincy Public Schools for a while. Is there any precedent for negotiating a contract publicly? The committee of the whole, is there anything that you know of where everybody weighs in to get to a consensus? Or is it generally people throwing out ideas and the administration takes it back and puts it together? Because this is such a weird idea that their entire board of 7 people would meet publicly with even 4 members of our board to negotiate a contract. Just wondering if you know if you've ever seen anything like this.
As a former board member, I think the discussion has to be in public because it's public dollars that we're talking about. So it has to be a discussion in public. It can't be an executive session or anything like that.
But the impression I've gotten from those who were there was that it was a negotiation.
So that's the format you felt like that
Well,
the dialogue was?
Without knowing what's in the document, it's hard to say.
Okay.
One thing, and I don't know if this answers your question, Sally, and I'm certainly no expert on how CPS operates. They have represented to us that this is unusual, in that ordinarily these types of things are handled by administration with a recommendation and brought to their board. I think Pamela's correct that to the extent they're going to discuss public business, it has to be in public. I think generally speaking, on most contracts, it's negotiated at the staff level, and then they discuss it as a board. As far as trading red lines, there's nothing else I'm aware of, but there's plenty that goes on that I'm not aware of.
They have to discuss some things, but I think when it gets down to the nuts and
Pennies and
bolts,
cents, it can be in the background.
yes.
Wordsmithing.
Well, well, I'll let Vera weigh into it.
Don't need to look at
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely get an open discussion about vision and goals,
Yeah.
but not item Roman numeral 2C1.
And we have said that once there is a document to discuss that there's general agreement on, that it would be a great idea to get together, ratify it together, and discuss vision and goals. And that, we've made that as clear as we can, that we're happy to do that. And that, I think that's a wonderful discussion to have with 22 people at that point. So and we'll continue to reiterate that.
But this has been weird from the beginning. It's been different from the moment I shouldn't say weird. It's a different arrangement because it's serving us different. It's new and it was innovative at its beginning.
Why did they acknowledged this is a different way of doing things. Did they say why it needs to be this way?
Well, to be fair, I'm sorry, Barry, if you want to go ahead.
I do want to say, and as Candace said, everything has to be public, and we're talking about taxpayers' dollars here. This is where it is a different situation when you're looking at contracts or agreements, because you are looking at levy dollars, which are taxpayer dollars that should be discussing.
But all contracts are with public dollars.
Go ahead, Sean.
Let me jump in and say, I think the way that this is different for me is that this is not an issue of a contract.
No.
This is an issue of a partnership of how two organizations and entities work together to implement the will of the public, of which money in a contractual relationship was only one part. And so we recognize when creating our master agreement committee almost 2 years ago that some of the responsibilities of doing the nuanced contract piece of this had to be delegated, right? But the reason that this looks different is because this is not a contract discussion. This is a piece of what this overall partnership and initiative looks like.
And one thing that I want to be fair about is some of it is my fault, because we tried negotiating this, lawyers and administration and staff first, and got nothing for 2 years. And then I sent a note saying, get your president, vice president, and your staff together with ours, and let's try to do this, which their board agreed to, and has since kind of changed its mind. So to the extent there's a deviation, some of it is we tried the normal course of business and got nowhere for 2 years, and we say, hey, let's try something else, which agreed to and have since no longer. And to me, more important than discussing policy and whatever's in their red line in this upcoming meeting is getting a public, firm commitment on how we're going to finish this and finish it quickly, because Marcia is right. One of the things we told them from the beginning is every month we waste children and providers being harmed. And this, I'd be less frustrated if we were in analysis paralysis and going back and forth over whether this money is better. We haven't even gotten there yet. We're in the getting to how are we going to do this, not what are we going to do.
Go ahead, Steve.
I think one thing that we have to understand, well, we understand it, but I don't think that CPS understands that because we are an older organization now, we are not in infancy stage. And we want to have our own way of doing business along in partnership with them. And I don't think that the new administration that's coming in, that has come in Cincinnati Public Schools, understands that, nor have they taken the time to really sit down with the leadership of CPP to truly get an understanding of what we're doing and what we're about and how we want to work with them. We want to work together for the good of the providers, the children and the families and the taxpayers, that we said that we would do what we're going to do. You know, and so we have to get them to understand, and it doesn't take 22 or 23 people in a room together. It only takes a couple to give you a background on who we are, what we're doing, who we're serving, and how we want to get this done together. And if they refuse to see that, then what is the money for? You know, what is the picture? What is the image that we're setting up? Because early education and education is education. It doesn't matter what age.
Yeah, totally agreed. My personal opinion is that within these smaller group meetings we've had so far, we have tried to do a lot of education and that it has been necessary. I think there's probably quite a bit more to go. I will tell you from what their discussions were in their last board meeting about our proposal. I don't think there is much disagreement about the fact that we have matured quite a bit as an organization from the original master agreement. And I do think this kind of greater flexibility, still with the same, they're the fiscal agent and need transparency and, you know, those types of things, proper public purpose. We're not trying to walk away from any of that. I don't expect a ton of pushback about this. We've matured and we're more flexible. One thing that I think is challenging for those not intimately involved in our organization and with the history to understand is that as far as what these dollars look like on the CPS side, it is almost exclusively tuition assistance. There's a special education piece, a couple of things, but they do tuition assistance. We also run an organization and do quality improvement in addition to tuition assistance. And I think there is for those not deeply enmeshed in our organization and what we do, understanding that is the education that we've needed to do, and frankly, there's still more to be done. And I think in the meeting that occurs next Tuesday with whomever we send, that is a big chunk because it's, you know, one of the things that they discussed in their last meeting is the superintendent said she felt it'd be very important that the funds be distributed in some way based on per pupil of tuition assistance, which fundamentally for how tuition assistance funds are distributed, I think there's potentially a way to work that in a framework that works for us, but we do a lot more than that. And it has not felt to me in the meetings we've had so far that there's been a fundamental understanding about the fact that that's what this program is for CPS. For CPP, it's that plus a good bit more.
I think, you know, the other challenge is that, you know, not having the benefit of observing and interacting with probably 30 other initiatives and localities that have this, there is a fundamental difference in a mixed delivery system model that is never going to be aligned, right? The concept that in a public school system, you can make a mandate that everybody follows. In a community provider system, you have individual businesses, different operating and compliance. That is never going to be uniform, no matter how much we try and what we want it to be. And that is a reality of the partnership. And how we consistently try to align and get more comfortable with those differences is something that I think that we need to work on and maybe look at how other localities have done it as well. Because there are just some things, no matter what we may want to agree to, that are not going to function the same in the system, right? That, you know, just as an example, in most cases, CPS will have the ability with daily check-ins to tell you what the attendance is. The amount of capacity that we would have to spend to tell weekly or daily attendance is more money than we currently have in our budget for all of our admin, right? That we would have to do to get that kind of individual reporting on that level with the new early learning standards. And I think both being aware that those differences, we both are the masters of understanding how that works, and we can make it compatible if we can get some alignment on what our fundamental big goals are. And we lose sight of that because we're getting down in the weeds, right? Which is what happens in contract negotiation. And I think for us, always being aware, CPS has as many challenges as CPS has. Our goal is to try to figure out how those are aligned for the common mission of making that early education accessible.
And one thing that we reiterate over and over again in these discussions is 70-something% of the students that we serve become CPS kindergartners. It's us versus them, whatever. It's to be competitive about this would be cutting off your nose to spite your face, because 70% of the dollars invested in students through CPP are students that become CPS students. Tony, Ross, anything from the two of you?
Yeah. Just appreciate all of your hard work and efforts, and certainly trust the committee to carry our work forward. I mean, I don't think it's fair for you guys either to get the red line the night before and have a meeting the next day, but I guess for the benefit of expediency and keeping the process moving forward, we're willing to do that, but that's certainly not a fair way to approach it. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I full support, my complete support, and I think, lead by example, show them how it should be done, and let's go. So, and if you gotta drag these other people along with you, well, too bad for them. Honestly, you could take it, go in there by yourself, show them this, this doesn't need to be a popular vote, this needs to be an agreement amongst.
Yeah, and we did talk about
But
that.
I don't belabor that, I just full support, proceed at pace.
Appreciate it. We did talk about it. Certainly, there was an expression from some CPS board members that having more people there to talk is something they valued, and we wanted to honor that with also being consistent with how our board operates. All right. Master Agreement Committee folks, do we feel as if we have everything we need to move forward with this plan from the board?
Yeah, what I just heard, I heard you talk about, like, in explaining the differences between the two systems, Shara, that little, 3-minute or less statement, that was so clear, I think, and helpful, and given a chance to do a brief introduction about why we have different needs, and what the needs are with this very decentralized and extremely underfunded system, and how our role is to fill gaps to help make it whole. That was really great, and maybe if you get a couple minutes at the beginning to lay that out would be good.
And there have been a few things in our small committee meetings where Shara has done that, and you can see the learning in the room. I mean, from me too, but from all of us. Shara has an incredible way of explaining these things succinctly and in a way which you can understand. It does make a big difference here, right? All right, anything else on master agreement? I want to make sure we got a chance to, everyone, questions, comments, everything, got that fully through.
And we need to provide a copy of where we are.
Yeah. Okay, we'll send that around. And if we can contextualize for those not here getting the email that this is a draft we sent and we expect a proposal, but it was requested we send it around.
With the big red draft.
Okay, next is committee reports. We have governance committee. Marcia, am I over there saying that you all didn't have the opportunity to meet?
No, we did not have an opportunity to meet, so we will address the election of our new member of class 2026 at the January meeting of the board. We want to get this person on board as soon as possible, so that's the next opportunity.
Perfect.
And so that will be in January, along with onboarding Carolyn Jones as well.
Anything else? Governance?
Nope.
All right. So that approval item on the agenda we'll skip and hopefully get to in January. Next is contract renewal for evaluation services. That's something we're seeking approval tonight. Shara, I'll turn it over to you.
Absolutely. So this is in the approved budget, but as we've done with any multi-year contract, we bring it back to you for renewal. It is level funding, no increase in funding from year 6. What we are proposing this year is that we eliminate a large portion of the qualitative portion of our evaluation, instead focus on child outcomes that are really around assessments that show preschool progress, where we are in kindergarten, 1st grade, 3rd grade, 8th grade. There are some parts of the scope of work and the questions that we ask that are not finalized yet, because we do want to work collaboratively with CPS to determine what is the best opportunity for us to look at this collectively. What are the things that we may be missing with this new combination of the Office of Children and Youth, and so what data are they going to be collecting, So this is baseline to you all to say we do need to get started because we need to make sure that children knows we intend to continue and renew that contract so we can capture the most recent KRA scores that were taken this year, and they need to start with that data sharing. So this is a highline level of what we're looking at for year 7. The new thing that I also wanted to share is that we're hoping to do some additional information with the Red Cap survey instrument so that we have a better idea of what we all keep talking about, which is actual seat capacity, which we struggle to capture because we not only want to know the number of students that we are serving with tuition assistance, but those that are also at the preschool sites that are benefiting from the sites that receive tuition assistance, as well as the number of students that are benefiting from our investments in quality improvement. We think that innovations is going to be able to help us do that. So your output on the other end will look a little different of what the evaluation has looked before. The quantitative portion will be the same, but we'll have some add-ons. I did not feel it was necessary, again, to talk about the qualitative portions and talk about whether or not parents can afford preschool. We know they can, without preschool promise. Whether or not people think quality is important, they do. They always have, so we're not focusing so much on that. We also delayed and didn't want to do another deep dive into teacher wages because we are 1 year in to the 2 new initiatives that we've done with our partners at 4C for Children, with the initiatives in Hamilton County as well as the city of Cincinnati. There are so many people that are working on wage initiatives and pilots now. I did not want to invest our resources in continuing to do the deep dive and our impact on that until we get some more data and progress from our partners on what that looks like. So our request is just a high level to say contract renewal as planned for the multi-year agreement at the budget level, which you've already asked when we did the budget amendment, and to give you a high level of where we are.
Are there any questions for Shara on that?
Not a question, you know, I always have a comment.
And I always appreciate it. That's good.
Hooray for counting the total number of kids in our partner programs, because every one of those children benefit, and we ought to know what those numbers are, so good job.
We don't have them yet, but we're trying.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'll
see
say.
in here, I know,
Yeah.
it's proposed.
Yes.
So Char, the scope of services and the request is really coming from you. This is what you want, and they've agreed to do it.
It is.
All right.
It is.
Enough said.
And through many painful meetings, through many conversations, we got on the same page.
I move that we approve this.
Moved by Sally, is there a second?
Second.
Ross, will get you that one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Okay, approved. Next, we have observer comments. Vera, your perfect attendance remains.
Here again.
Any comments?
A couple. I usually don't speak, so tonight I will speak.
You always are welcome.
I do want to say thank you very much for just approving the contract with Innovations since we have also with CPS a collaboration contract with them. It has worked out beautifully between CPP and CPS, the collection and the sharing of data. So there is one bright spot I would like to point out of the collaboration of having a wonderful group of experts that are wonderful collecting data, of collecting everything that we've requested of them. Just a short note, I think we are all here for the same purpose, and that's for our families and our kids throughout the city. And I hope both boards will, and I say both boards, will keep both in mind, because you spoke tonight of education of groups, and I know CPS needs to be educated, but also, Micah, your comment, I'm trying to swallow it and be graceful here, of the only thing we do is tuition assistance and special education was a little insultive. That means I haven't done my job to educate this board of everything we do also, because quality improvement, professional development, and other avenues are also part of what we do too in a public school system. It just looks different, as Shara said, our worlds just look different. So we need to find a way to make our worlds come together for the betterment of the city, the kids, and their families.
I
And with
appreciate
that,
that, and let me apologize, and also try to clarify. I wasn't saying that's all you do or CPS does. I was just talking about what the agreement says these funds are for. I know you and CPS do vastly more than that, but to the extent I wasn't clear on that, I am terribly
Well,
sorry.
and I think and thank you, Leopold. I think all of us together, even our weekly talks I have with Shar, I think we're all for the same cause and the same purpose, and that's our little people and their families. And I hope that moving forward, hopefully quickly, we can come to an agreement that we all can keep moving forward and keep supporting each other in one way or another.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Appreciate it. Okay, so next is, I'm gonna entertain a motion to recess into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, which is our executive director's evaluation. The process to do it is someone has to move that we do that, then someone has to second it, and then we have to take a roll call vote. So is there a motion to do that?
I move to recess into executive session.
Pamela, is there a second? Terry, we need to take a roll call vote. Marcia, will you call the roll, please?
I just call just the people.
Just the
that
folks
are
here, yeah.
Pamela Bowles,
Here.
Terry England.
Yes or no?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Terry England,
Yes.
Marcia Futel, yes. Tony Hobson,
Yes.
Michael Cameras,
Yes.
Ross Meyer,
Yes.
Sally Westman.
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous.